Hi guys, today I'm live with Justin Wu, a growth hacker from the United States. Now, he focuses on cryptocurrency ICOs, which is a initial coin offering, and growth hacking Kickstarter campaign. So super interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does it, why he does it, and the journey to where he got to so far. So Justin, my man, people listening to you the first time, can you just give us a background of who you are and your journey thus far?
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Justin Wu. I'm a growth hacker, growth marketer based here in LA, and founded my own agency called Growthly. And kind of it's been a culmination of experiences of founding different startups, from SaaS businesses to previous agencies. And as I kind of built my businesses from the ground up, I actually started at the age of 12, and I'm 27 now. It started out with an eBay business, and as I continued building up more businesses, built more websites, started making money through internet marketing from AdSense. That kind of got me down the rabbit hole of internet marketing, and once I got into that, then that's kind of when my mind just exploded, and I got into the whole world of doing lead gen, affiliates, SEO, and it's really just was kind of growing one channel at a time, learning each channel. And when I was continuing trying to build my startups and businesses, I realized that it didn't matter how good of a product and service I had if no one knew about it. And so while I was becoming a founder of these different businesses, I still led to the importance of just understanding marketing. And how I specifically got into kind of growth hacking throughout was as I continued to grow, I started learning more software development, so Java, C++, Ruby on Rails, and started building my own scripts. And that's when kind of the word growth hacking came to be, when I started learning about, I am using software development for marketing purposes, and kind of that helped me kind of scale and growth hack what I need to get done. And so that's what I've been kind of doing for the past, I'd say past couple of years actually, just jumping in and out. And most recently, just been getting involved more in like the crowdfunding space. It would be like a Kickstarter. Most recent project that we did raised $2.5 million in 30 days, so that was a fun project. And then I'm taking all that learning, and then now applying it to cryptocurrency, ICO, and as well as token sales to help them get their message and word out for potential crypto investors. So that's kind of just like a quick background about me in a very short summary.
Okay, I guess my question here is, how does growth hacking differ to marketing?
Yeah, so I mean, traditionally, marketing has resided just for marketing departments or business side, and software development has been different, just sitting its own silo. And so as everything's become more data-driven, technology-driven, software-driven, you have the three different disciplines. You have the business marketing side, you have software technology side, and then you have data. Again, like school, universities taught us to think in different silos and just major in one different discipline. But as kind of marketing started evolving and becoming more technology driven, that's when kind of Sean Ellis came up with the word growth hacking, and it was just kind of combining those three together, where again, you have to build a agile team of someone that understands truly about the product, the customer, and the business marketing side of things. And traditionally, it wasn't something that people were thinking about, kind of combine those three different disciplines. But I think, the biggest misconception of growth hacking is everybody thinks about these quick hacks that get you a million downloads or users. And, there are those that exist, but I'll say that there's only a small amount of people that actually can execute and get that done. And what growth hacking really means is about running a lot of experiments, growth experiments and test campaigns, taking a look at the data and then reacting to it very quickly and fast, and then compounding those small wins, kind of in a stacked growth type of way, where you're running experience multiple different campaigns or marketing channels, and then pushing that to kind of your true north of growth, whether it be more sales, more followers, whatever it is. So that's how kind of what growth hacking means to me and how it differs from kind of traditional marketing.
See, that sounds to me like just a new terminology for direct response marketing, the way that you described it there.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely more of a mindset, and there's different aspects of growth hacking that has been applied to everything, different thing. You can growth hack sales, cold emails. You can growth hack SEO. In this case, direct marketing as well too. But there's other clever guys too who are just really good at getting PR featured in publications or big social pages, and so those guys are kind of growth hacking that whole process too. So it could be direct marketing, which you said too, but it's kind of more like a mindset of being able to test rapidly and very fast on a hypothesis or multiple hypotheses, and then react with the data quickly to kind of roll out your growth campaign.
Okay, so it sounds very much like a growth. When you're in a heavy growth phase, are there any downsides to having too much of a growth hacker focus in your team as the business starts to evolve?
Oh, definitely. Because, the traditional growth hacker that you see out there and everybody that labels as growth hackers is somebody that probably knows a lot of different tools and knows how to exploit a specific platform. So you got people who are Twitter growth hacks, Instagram growth hackers that can get you an explore page to go viral. You got people who are just crushing kind of the social selling side too. And the issue with that is that these people who label themselves growth hackers, sometimes they have a one-trick pony, and they can get you ranked on Product Hunt. They could get you maybe a ton of downloads, impressions, but what you'll see usually is a big spike and then a collapse again in terms of your traction chart, because they're really good at that one exploit or big hit and not really good for that sustained. And so if you are going to be diligent in and figure out what channels they can generate growth in, and then when they do execute their growth hacks, constantly measure the KPIs to ensure that you're not necessarily burning your own cash flow to work with these growth hackers, because in my whole opinion, some of these growth hackers out there are not really good at more the just traditional inbound marketing and sustainable marketing, and it's always has to be a combination of both.
Okay.
That's just my opinion about it.
Okay, very cool. On that note, if you're talking about exploits and ways to get around the systems, with those exploits, are these things that they generally play in the grey areas to get this massive wins of what the platforms will allow? Usually
the gray hat or black hat is the most popular or biggest growth hackers out there. I mean, you're doing growth hacks that is kind of white hat, that is more so clever, but usually everything has a little bit shade of gray or black in it.
Okay, so it's more a matter of calculating what the risk is in terms of what the benefit would be.
Yeah, risk or ethical beater, wherever that is.
Stuff.
There's no real right answer to that, right? It just comes down to, might not live another day. Do you need the growth? Is it okay? What's the consequences? And those are all calculations that you should make before you actually, go out and execute it. But see things. Some crazy stuff out there it's all been under the description. Under the idea of the actual growth hacker themselves, whether they want to push those batteries.
Okay, very cool. So, could you give us some examples of growth hacks that you've been through yourself and that have worked exceptionally well?
There's a lot. My first really big growth hack was actually on Craigslist. And so back then you were able to scrape Craigslist and even post an ad on Craigslist every second. As time goes, they added 30-second delay, a 2-minute delay. And my biggest growth hack there was kind of taking advantage of the fact that Craigslist had a lot of local businesses, and so what I was able to do is just get a script that automatically posted every single time frequency, so 2 minutes. And so like I was posting about a potential lead gen ad off that platform, and then I was able to scale that to my business dealer bus, which I had about 6 years ago. Lead gen for about 40 dealerships here. That was my biggest kind of exploit growth hacks, and that helped me kind of build kind of like automated processes to kind of mimic user clicks and browsers. And then I applied that same idea and methodology and got into kind of like the social media growth hacks, where I was automating the Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff, and I was just kind of using that to grow followers, do the auto follow, auto like, scraping all those users, and then going out and generating traffic based on those engagements. So that's kind of like the biggest growth hack that I've been able to growth hacks, I should say, I've been kind of involved with.
Okay, that's cool. So you mentioned the campaign you're running on Kickstarter with Facebook. Tell us a little bit about that campaign.
The project was called SuperScreen. It was a tablet-like device, and it was only $100 to $130. And what it allowed you to do is to mirror your smartphone onto a larger screen. In this case, the SuperScreen. The SuperScreen itself doesn't really have a like full robust operating system. All it does is try to mirror your phone. And the idea and the concept behind that is that it allows you to not be able to. You don't have to keep upgrading your tablet. You can just literally port and run that through. How powerful your phone is, and again, like and when we went out and go market, did it click with the product personally on a personal level? We're like, this is you could buy technically an Android for about the same price, so you get full system, but we started to ads and started targeting people from young millennials, Gen. Even to try some Gen Z, what their response were, and then we did other tests such as like moms or like 40 plus, 50 plus audiences, and what we found was that it's really just said really negative things about this product. But when we ran the ads to older demos like the 40 and 50 plus crowd, that's when a lot of people started having very positive responses, and so we really started shifting all our ad dollars and growth marketing to that demo, and started deploying different ad creatives to kind of speak to those audiences. So, and because from doing that switch and doing a heavy focus on that type of growth, we were able to generate, again, like I said, 2.5 million in 30 days, and be ranked number one in overall on Kickstarter and number one in tech for 2 weeks straight. That's how much kind of the growth that we were able to pump through to kind of maintain that rank, and because of that generated us a ton more organic pledges from the Kickstarter platform itself, as people saw that we were kind of top ranked.
I guess I got to show the value of actually testing, because that really isn't an audience you'd expect to be so passionate about a tech product.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the biggest things that people forget is that they don't test, and the thing too is that they don't test enough audiences. You have to kind of come up with maybe audiences to test, and if all 4 or 5 fail, then test another 5. But if run up and then keep testing more demos. And two was that people always like the same or add video or pictures to the same different audiences, and that might not be true, because if you were to show like a video game, maybe younger generations respond to that. But if you showed a video game, somebody using a video game, playing a video game with a SuperScreen on to an older generation, they will the response won't be the same, right? And so it was about testing out those different use cases. And so when we created different creatives for those audiences, had one where a grandson and grandma was there, and she was having a hard time reading the phone, and so the grandson takes out a SuperScreen, and that resonated very well.
Okay, very cool. So the question is next, for business owners that are wanting to start to learn more about this so they can apply in their businesses, what resources would you recommend?
So the biggest resources that I led to is I personally don't go too much forums. I've been starting going to a lot of Facebook groups that are specific to either different channels. So there's a lot of Facebook ad groups out there. There's other growth hacking groups out there too. From like Traffic and Copy is like a very big one, 25,000. I also created my own called Stacking Growth. And then there's also I effing love marketing. That's another one as well. And so, if you really go out and search there, what you want to do is just start tracking the thought leaders in those different channels or spaces, because they're going to be at the forefront of the leading and bleeding edge of growth marketing or those channels. And especially with marketing becoming very complicated, you need to kind of have those signals on these changes on each platform, and have those people that are just focused on that channel, and just track them. That to me, that's like one of the biggest resources, because now everybody's trying to build their own personal brand now and create free content. There's just a lot out there to kind of learn. And one technique that I always tell a lot of marketers is stop sitting back and waiting for content to come to your newsfeed, right? I think that's a wrong way to go about learning about marketing and growth content, because everybody is all over and content ad hoc and at the moment. And what you see is typically these BuzzFeed style articles where like, how to get 1 million downloads by generating PR press for free, but that might not be applicable to your business right now. And what you have to think about is what channels or traction channels I want to focus on right now, and identify that first, and then go out and search for that content pieces for that channel. Let's say you want to grow your Twitter account. You made that decision now. It's like, I need Twitter growth. Then afterwards, that's when you start going out and exactly finding out what do you need: followers, more retweets, how do I increase more engagements, Twitter ads, sitting back and saying, I don't know what to everything. You're just going to get bombarded with marketing noise out there, and as marketers and personal brands, everybody's just trying to pump out content, and it's never ending. And so people are just like going all over the place and just trying to absorb all that, and it's just noisy. It's not an efficient way to learn.
So consume less and really get focused on what you want to know and find out that information specific to the result. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so we've got a few questions here from your own community, Stacking Growth, which is on Facebook as well. The question here is, why is it more important to focus on personal development over personal branding? I'm assuming this is from a topic you've covered before?
Yeah, definitely. So the topic was really focusing on personal development first over personal branding. And the reason why I led to this heavily, it kind of doesn't come from my own experience too, where I spent 10 years building different businesses, running traction and growth, user acquisition growth for different startups and businesses, right? And the reason why I say to focus on that first over personal branding is that you need to have the hard skill sets of whatever you're in before you go out and spend all the energy trying to build your own personal brand. Now, you can build your personal brand in parallel of your pursuit, with the documentation. In my whole opinion, every energy time spent on not focusing on building those hard skill sets, whether it be learning Facebook ads, sales, biz dev, or whatever, is kind of inefficient efforts. You should just block out all the everybody wants to kind of be their own Gary Vee or have their own D-Rock and all that stuff too, but they're just those marketers are just making a lot of noise, and when you actually get down to the hard skill sets, they're not really focusing on that time, and they're spending more time on vanity metrics or trying to grow all that. And so to me, it was just like, if you look at people like Gary, people like me, or actually like big founders out there, they actually got acquisitions. They actually ran growth and real growth for big campaigns. They actually built their own businesses, a personal brand. And I see the flip side where people are really good at production and really good at building a personal brand, actually don't have real skin in the game. It's one, it's not authentic, and then two, you're spending so much time trying to keep that momentum up, and then you're going to run out of creating real good content because you kind of have to create the facade of not being who you are saying you are on your personal brand. And so that's just my that's just my perspective on that topic specifically.
So really focus on becoming someone worth talking about rather than getting people to talk about you.
Yeah. It like you can document as you continue to go, but as you become more better at your craft, focus on your craft first, and then go out there. It's going to be so much easier to build your own personal brand, so much easier to create content because it's more natural. If you're on the flip side where you don't have the skill sets and you don't have the craft, then you always have to kind of invent things, which takes a lot more effort, and it's just not the best use of time, in my opinion.
Exactly. Speaking from experiences, you've got a depth of knowledge you can pull from, whereas if you're trying to make things up or create stories that you have no actual experience doing, it's A, like you said, it's inauthentic, and B, there's no depth to what you do.
Exactly, and it's going to be very surface level and shallow, and you can get away with it, but in the mid to long term game, it's again like somebody out there is going to in my opinion, potentially beat you in your craft.
Any real players will see right through it.
Exactly, and so you can always cater to the early crowd, which is great. A lot of people do, but you won't be able to move to the next stage, in my opinion.
Okay, so
and really set yourself apart.
There's another question here about which cryptos do you currently hold?
There's so many. Like I got in kind of early, well, not the earliest of Ethereum, but I've always been a big believer of just Bitcoin in general, just because everything signals from Bitcoin movement, right? Like all the alternative coins won't explode as much if Bitcoin isn't like moving. If Bitcoin collapses, you're going to see the whole market just kind of go down with it. But other things that I've been kind of involved with, it's different things from like IOTA, Neo, which is the Chinese Ethereum, OMG. There's just a whole bunch, and what I've been able to do is very similar again back to where I again learned all my other marketing knowledge is I follow the big whales or people who are just heavily and I kind of just diversify and sprinkle it in across different coins. I'm not necessarily a pro trader. I've had my wins. Some coins that I invested got 3 to 5x. And then when I got that, I pull out my base investment, and then now I'm just sitting with more extra crypto, and then that's where I start diversifying. But for me, the coins that I always look for now is like at least utility coins, things that actually have real value and capabilities. And I think that there's a lot of scam coins out there, and so only time will tell. I think the market will kind of weed those out too. So. Everybody has their own take on what coins to get involved with. I'm just the most heaviest in Ethereum right now, and then Bitcoin second, and then everything else is just kind of a sprinkle. If one explodes 3 to 5x, then that's where I start spreading out into other coins that I feel are worth it or legit.
Awesome. So if I'm hearing that correctly, your approach to Bitcoin and the whole space is put your money in. As soon as you get a return, you take out that initial investment, and then you want to diversify your range of coins and looking for coins that are attached to some sort of value.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Now, if you were to have to start again, like start from scratch, still having all the skills you have today and all the knowledge you have, what would you do differently?
What I would do differently is to not focus so much on social media and personal branding content as much, at least initially. I think that a lot of people now are really sucked into that, but it's not the. It's heavily vanity, especially with what you see out there with a lot of people with personal brands. When they go speaking, most speakers don't get paid at all. Like, let's be honest. And even if you get paid, it's only the top tier, like Grant Cardone or Gary level or Lewis Howes will really get paid to be a keynote. But everybody else is kind of like paying out their own dime, and a lot of that's just like hype and perception, and it's. To me, the wrong way to go about just even marketing or entrepreneurship in general. I would go about it differently, and this is on focusing on inbound marketing first, and then creating kind of like the writing blog content and getting my website up, which I just I'm finally getting my full blog up and running. That took me a long time. Where I've been focused on video content. But that was all residing on like Instagram, Snapchat, on all these social platforms. But I had no inbound coming directly to my website. Was not pushing the ads, and so like that's like a lot of where a lot of people aren't focusing on. At least for all the hype, everybody's focusing on the social channels. Whereas going back on the more traditional, stable paid acquisition, SEO, blog content, and email marketing, and maybe even chatbots too. That's where I would kind of go things differently. Like I'm making up for that I've been spending for the past year of making a lot of content on social.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about your growth plan with Growthly. What are you focusing on the next 3 months?
Yeah, so I wasn't and still not necessarily all in on really just growing and blowing up my agency, and I'll give a reason why. It's cool that I am earning with all retainer of my clients around 6-figure income, but once for me, like I've already got that through some of my past agencies, and that's cool to get a huge revenue. But if you look at the mid to long term goal, and this all depends on people's goals. That's not enough money for me to do what I need to do: go travel, buy a house, and get that kind of financial / lifestyle freedom. Even with making $100K plus a year, that's not necessarily enough to hit all those goals that I need. I need to generate and build actual big multipliers of growth, build a real product. And not necessarily an agency. So my next goals here is either looking into building a full-blown like product again that is potentially can be exited or sold, or generates a larger amount of money that's not so much services based. Or right now I've been heavily getting into crypto, and even though that is services based, the upside and the payout in the end is huge. That will allow me to hit my next end game goal, which again is just like any cash that I can bring in now. I've learned to not focus so much on the short term needs of buying nice clothes and spending that on unnecessary, even like food and going out to eat. Obviously, I still enjoy myself, but now I'm like meal prepping. Now I'm just like cutting back all the bills and excessive spend. And then taking all that money and diversifying in long-term investments from the stock market to crypto, so that my money is generating more money for me, and thinking more mid to long term, so that 5-10 years from now, I don't have to focus on an agency and just be stuck with that, and to keep constantly relying that as my money flow. If that makes sense. Awesome. And so that's kind of my next step now is that, and I don't mean to cut you off, sorry, is that I want to start turning Growthly not so much focus on the agency. I'll have an agency, and that's going to scale, but I'm going to probably put a CEO on it, and then I'm going to go and push heavily on my personal brand, and start creating information products around that, so that generates more cash flow, and then build a product as I go, like a SaaS product.
Epic, super epic. Now you kind of touched on this in your last message there, but what habits have you formed that have contributed to your success?
The biggest habit that I had to break through was, I guess, lacking focus and saying yes to everything, which was good to start. But one thing I had to really change about is just focusing on what I need to get done today, for the week, and the month. Thinking about all those objectives and am I hitting that, and being very self-auditing myself every single time is like, did I accomplish those goals? Did I not? And what are those goals? What's going to generate me to my true north goal in the end game? You know, like, am I trying to build a SaaS product that's trying to be like a HubSpot killer? All right, well, what's the steps I need to get there today? And am I accomplishing those goals? And help me set up those every step of the way. And so a lot of people don't really think about that, and they don't want to plan out that far. But you have to at least know that your true north direction, and everything in between comes in as details. And if you don't have any plans, you know, it goes. Those who don't plan are planning to fail. And if you know your end goal destination, then the path straight to it is much more clear and focused. And that's something that I had to like dispel after it took me like almost all my life to get that out. And now I've been getting better and better at it. Not perfect, but that's like a big habit that I think that just cutting out noise and going straight to your goals and executing has been clutch for me for the past year. I'd say it's been much more focused for me.
Love it. That's gold, man. So, 3 things: favorite book, favorite movie, and favorite food.
The favorite book, that's a little bit hard. So I have not personally read a lot of books, and when I did, it was heavily audio books. And the reason being was I especially with the internet marketing field, right? There wasn't any books, especially with the 10 years ago. Everything was online, and so I was just like, well, I don't need to spend time for books because everything else was not up to date. It's not new, and whenever somebody wrote something, it was still outdated. And so I didn't really get heavy into the books, but I'd say the biggest book to me that had made the most impact was a book called Critical Thinking Tools for Success. I believe. And what that book is, it's not about marketing. It's not about business, but it is about thinking about thinking. It's kind of meta, right? But what a lot of us do is whatever we do, take actions. We don't really think about the consequences, and we don't think about how other people react, and think about of all the underlying potential issues, whether it be economic, religious, location, cultural, all that stuff too. And once you start predicting and thinking how other people think, then that helps you with everything that you do with your own decision making, because you can start playing out all the situations in your head. And that book really gives you a step-by-step processes to really take away your own emotions and your own ego and your own thoughts, to take a pause before you ever do anything and run those situations out. And that has helped me with my entrepreneurship career, my marketing career, and life, because it really helps me set it up. And why this is really important for marketing in general is because when you go out and run a campaign like SuperScreen, in the mindset of a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old that is out there, that is using the product. And so if I apply my own critical thinking skills, I have to put myself in the shoes of other people. It doesn't matter how I feel, think, whatever. It doesn't matter about that at all. And if I can put myself in the shoes of others and think from their mindset, leaving my own biases and my own ego side, that allows me to speak to reach my message to them and connect the dots from there, from the product messaging to the user. And so to me, that's been a big asset to my marketing career, entrepreneurship, and just life in general. But in terms of, you said a few other things too, like what, movies or
Movie,
food?
book, food. So movies and food.
Yeah, I'll keep this a little bit on the less business side. But my favorite movie, honestly, is The Matrix, the first one. I watched that like 50 times. 50 times. Let's just be honest. That movie was just sick. That was just like a badass movie for this time. I really hope that they come up with another one that's in 3D. You know, I'm waiting for that moment to happen. That movie to me was just awesome. I love sci-fi. I love I love kind of the premise of it. I mean, like multi-dimensional universe. They definitely dropped the ball there, but at the other two movies. But I just love the action. How it's like kind of like both Asian inspired with the bullet time, just like video games. I really enjoyed that one.
Let me adjust this last question about the food. If you could eat any food right now, you've had the best day, you've just come home, you've achieved all your goals. If you eat any food, what would you eat and where would you eat it?
It would be Korean barbecue. It's all you can eat one. They just do good marination, especially here in K-Town in LA. It's probably one of the best. I love meat. I should not be eating a lot of meat as I should, but they do it so well, and I always eat that after a big victory. It's good eating unlimited food as well, and I love it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. My man, that concludes our interview. If you've got 30 seconds right now, tell people how they connect with you, what's the next step that they can do, and signing off.
Yeah, you can find me on all social networks. I kind of built my own omnipresence on all different channels here, from like LinkedIn to Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook. You can find me at you have a good chance of finding me because I've been able to rank myself high on all these platforms. But if you can't, my handle on most platforms is Hackerpreneur. It is HACKAPRENEUR. And just feel free to reach out. My biggest platform right now is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been just going nuts in terms of leads as well as traffic for content marketing. So definitely LinkedIn. Second place would be Facebook, and then Instagram. So definitely look at me or look at my website, growth.ly. That's my website, and follow me there.
Well, Justin, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And guys, be sure to check out Justin on social and connect with him. Until next time, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks.